Welcome to Contemporary Black Voices, where we examine the issues affecting Black America. I am your host, the writer Fred for this show, and with me today are my brilliant associates, Professor and Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell and best-selling author Caleb Alexander. Missing today is our fourth member of the team, businessman and community activist Chris Dawkins. We are thinking about you, buddy, and we'll be happy when you rejoin us in a couple of weeks. For this particular show, we're going to deviate somewhat and take on a topic that might not be all that important to the race, but it is a trend that is rather disturbing to some and does not matter to others. That trend is for Blacks occupying important and influential positions in our government to marry out of the race. The key Black women in the government, Kamala Harris, Susan Rice, Ketanji Brown Jackson, are married to white men. Some of the key Black men, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, Congressman Byron Donalds, are married to white women, and Senator Tom Scott's girlfriend is white. Also, Texas senatorial Democratic candidate Colin Allred is married to a white woman. I wonder, will he take her to some meetings here in Texas with politically active Black women? So the question is, a case that you can't help the cases that you can't help but you fall in love with, or is this a snub and an insult to Black men and Black women and to the Black race? Are we not good enough for these people? So the case is, you can't help who you fall in love with. You can't help who you fall in love with. Or is this a snub? Is this a snub to the rest of the race? Sharon, let me go to you first. What do you think?
Oof. Well, um, you made your argument there when you started thinking about who's married to whom. Um, and it does look like that if you're going to be in an upper echelon, that the trend is showing that you need to look outside the race for a spouse. Now, that's not saying that, uh, well, President Obama and Michelle Obama, they were two Black people. Maybe they were the exception to the rule. Or maybe President Obama couldn't have been president if he was married to a white woman.
What do you think?
What?
Do you think it's Black women that got him over, especially in South Carolina? Mm-hmm. If he married to a white woman, do you think they would have been supporting him?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think when you're president of the United States, they're looking at a match, in the races, right? Mm-hmm. But if you just look outside of the presidential arena, and not that many of us were going to get up into that area, but it was just interesting. It's always been a thought in the back of my mind: had he married that white woman that he was dating back in the day?
Who?
Obama.
He used to be dating a white woman?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Would she have been first lady? And I don't.
Michelle put an end to that, didn't she?
I don't think the country. Aesthetically is ready to see like a Black man and a non-Black woman as president of the United States, or vice versa. Now, if something happens to Biden and Kamala becomes president, that's going to be a whole different discussion, because her husband is white and Jewish.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know how to answer that question, because I'm seeing more and more. In fact, I saw something else, where another Black woman was married to a white man. What's her name? Melanie Hopkins.
Millie Hobson.
Oh, yeah. She's married to
Spielberg, right? She married to Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Not
Steven Spielberg. The guy who did
Star Wars.
Oh, George Lucas.
George Lucas.
George Lucas. She went for the money.
And so, she said she married right. She married right. What did you say?
I said she went for the money.
So I don't think, it's a trend. It's sending a powerful message to our young ladies that if you want to move up, you're going to have to move over to the next race.
What do you think, Caleb?
So, my question is like with Melody. She ran and built up Aerial Capital Management. So when you occupy these spaces, and so I know we had this conversation previously, uh, as Black women ascend the ranks through academia or in business, which I know there's another statistic that just came out about Black women leading in entrepreneurship, starting more businesses per capita than anybody else. And so as they move into these different areas, economically and educationally, and they look around for companionship. It's just, I mean, is who are they around? Is there a lack of compatible Black male companionship in those spaces? And so the conversation, I know part of the conversation we had is like, well, what are they to do? You know what I mean? If someone is there and they share similar interests, similar aspirations, and they find themselves, working on projects, becoming close, going out to dinner, and they find a compatible partner. Uh, are they going to say no based on the race of this partner, or we're going to ask them to stay single because they can't find a compatible Black mate? So I mean, it's a tough question when you start navigating these different spaces. You know what I mean? And so,
Well, statistically, there aren't. We talked about it on that show.
Mhm.
It was our Black Love Matters show.
Right. Yeah.
And we talked about statistically, there aren't enough Black men to, and I'm going to use this term loosely because I can't figure out another way, to meet the needs
Mhm.
of Black women.
Mhm.
You start.
Meet the need.
Well, I'm just saying I'm using that term loosely because I can't think of a term. I can't think of a word right now. But when you start looking at the number of Black men, this is the Black men.
Mhm.
And if you start taking out those in jail, those who are gay, then the pot becomes kind of thin, and you got all these Black women, and so, and I know that I've heard the terms, bed wench,
Mhm.
stuff like that. But are we asking our Black women
Mhm.
who are actively looking for a Black man but can't find one? Are we asking
Mhm.
them just to sit at home, twiddle their thumbs, and hoping and praying a Black man comes into their sphere? Or are we saying that she tried
Mhm.
and you have this white man, you have this Asian man, you have this Hispanic man who shows an interest,
Mhm.
who has similar interests?
Mhm.
Uh, does she to turn her nose up to that person?
Right.
You know, one of the things that I enjoy doing, well, I haven't done it in a while, is participate in triathlons. And so to find a man who's interested in that, he has to literally be in that sphere,
Mhm.
And usually when there's a Black man in there, there's also his Black wife companion or Black girlfriend companion. So it gets a little tough over there as well.
Right.
So, and then you asked me the other day about having a doctorate. What is that like?
Mhm.
Well, I've dated somebody who, a Black man who had a doctorate, but other than the doctorate, our interest really wasn't as diverse as it could have been.
Mhm.
Well,
So
having
it
a
could.
doctor, you have a doctor. Are you looking for a comparable companion that has a doctorate? And would you, let's say there's a guy that you're interested in, and you find out he has a GED.
I've dated somebody who had basically a GED, but socially, he was not comfortable being in some of the environments that I wanted to operate in. So to date someone like me and vice versa,
Mhm.
there has to be a level of comfort in navigating in and out of those different spaces.
Mhm.
I mean, I have a friend. She has her doctorate, but she's married to a man who owned a barbershop. And 30 years later, they're still together.
Mhm.
So it's a level of, are we willing to operate in each other's spaces with comfort?
Mhm.
Well, okay, operate in each other's level of comfort.
Mhm.
This guy has GED. how are you going to operate
It
in
becomes
his level?
that's why I'm saying that with that particular person, there were some deficiencies there.
Mm-hmm.
Although he enjoyed taking me out to dinner,
Uh-huh.
but I could already see that there was going to be some issues,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
you know, going to a formal affair
Mm-hmm.
and trying to interact with these doctors and lawyers and whatever that might be surrounding. And he did not have that,
Right.
there.
Right.
So,
And
uh,
would he have the insecurities?
and, and,
Let's
and,
not
and
talk about him particularly,
but
but I'm just saying, with
Right.
a man with a GED going with you, and there's doctors and lawyers, and
there could be some
there's some
there could
insecurities.
be some insecurities. Now there may be that bold person with a GED. He's just bold, and he says, "I got this. Don't worry about me. I'm still learning." To where we may be able to operate like, we may be able to interact like that. But in this particular case, you have to look at, is this person going to feel comfortable
Mm.
in this world? Am I going to be comfortable in
In
his world?
Or
Yeah.
even introducing that person
Mm.
into your world
Mhm.
and to your colleagues. And so when you're interacting, there's a conversation,
Mhm.
and this person is completely lost in that conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You talk about the person who may have the GED.
Who may have the GED,
Uh-huh.
and so or even wanting to come home at night and lay in bed and talk about your day, but you have to limit your vocabulary. And this person can't grasp a lot of the concepts or a lot of things that you're talking about. You know what I mean? So that kind of would play, strain the relationship. You know what I mean? Because there's going to be a point where you're like, you know what I mean? There's only a certain way you can express yourself, and you can't break it down far enough for this person to understand or grasp it. And so, I mean, with education, there, so I'm gonna get in trouble, so I'm gonna stop right there.
No, go ahead.
No, but I mean, it's just I don't want to sound elitist,
Mhm.
but I mean, there are certain things that do come along with a certain level of education. You know what I mean? Certain levels of understanding, comprehension. Um, um, just there are certain things that come along with it. So.
What
Would
you're
it- would it-
saying, what you're
Would
saying,
it strain? How big of a strain would that put on the
Right.
relationship?
Mhm.
Basically, you know what I mean. Having to, always limit yourself. You know what I'm saying? Limit your expression. Limit your vocabulary. You know what I mean? Or limit the amount of interaction this person has. And how would that be embarrassing? You know what I mean? If there's a conversation, or if this person uses the wrong word, in the conversation with your colleagues. You know what I mean? And so, and you're worried about how he reflects on you. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things to consider when taking a partner with significantly less education.
well, is it hypocritical for someone to claim to be a spokesperson for the race and their actions by marrying outside of the race
Yeah.
would indicate that there's a problem.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Because there's you can't be a spokesperson for half the race. You have to be a spokesperson for the whole race. And so, if you can't fully understand the struggles of a Black woman, and be able to express that, and the struggles that you saw your mother go through is not good enough. It's not the same as the struggles that you see your wife go through. And the way she expresses those struggles, because you're never really a person really never really truly knows what their parents went through, or never really truly knows their parents. You know what I mean? But seeing your wife make those sacrifices, seeing what she deals with in this day and age as a modern Black woman, and coming home and expressing her frustrations operating in academia or corporate America, and being able to take that, understanding. You know what I mean? Yeah, Susan can hop into the swimming pool. Your wife ain't gonna hop in that swimming pool. You know what I
You
mean?
know what? What we're going to do is we're going to come back and hit that point about jumping into the swimming pool.
Okay,
Okay.
we're going to take a break and we'll be right back with you.